Okay, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Wonderful to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know how we get down here. Whatever the challenge, whatever the obstacle, whatever it is you may be feeling like is getting in the way of your success, we are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. Today, I have Mr. Scott Lappin, the founder of Moving Edge Workshops. And I'm telling you, as a person that's a boxing trainer, I actually wrote a book that's about boxing and dance where I went out and I interviewed a ton of dancers, ballet schools, and all that stuff. And I'm an advocate for athletes getting into dance just to help their athletic ability. I'm also, I mean, he's going to bring a completely new perspective in bringing the concept of dance to the business world, which I cannot wait to have him talk more about it and stuff like that. So before I make the intro too long, Scott, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm super. Thank you, Aswan. It's great. It's great to be on the show, and I've got a great message for everybody out there. It's a simple and profound way of teams getting their groove on and
Yeah,
getting their
yeah,
getting
literally, yeah.
their connection. Yeah, getting their connection. Usually, it has a lot to do with trust. Has a lot to do with communication, and I'm ready. You got any questions for me? I will dig deep. I'm going
Yes,
to
and
dig
that's
deep and
the thing
find.
is, and I remember because as you're talking, I remember when I was writing the book and a lot of the conversation, a lot of things I was doing, even from a leadership standpoint, when you think of choreography and you think of, every person has to do this in this way. In fact, it's super like it's crazy that we're actually having this conversation now because I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, and all of the
Okay.
students in the entire school are they've been rehearsing for the International Dance Day on December 13th. So we
Oh
just did a
wow.
dance for the our art. She's like our activities director, and she started crying because of how well the kids were able to move together and be in unison and the way it really brings people together. So, again, your work, I don't know if a lot of business owners really understand the angle that you're able to come with. So before we get there though, can you just talk to us a little bit about your background and your experience with dance and then what ultimately got you to the point where you're like, you know what, I got something here. I got something really strong when it comes to helping people use this to help their businesses.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a great story. Charmed. I started dancing when I was 8 years old in ballet. My own volition. My parents were great. They put me in a school. And after a couple of years of that, I continued on with a lot of body movement. Movement has been really central in my life in terms of expressing and connecting.
Yes.
And I did gymnastics and swimming and studied music. And I graduated from college with a music degree. So I had all of this study and interest in these arts before I even went to school.
Mhm.
After I got out of college, I was working in a restaurant. Of course, like most people do, they get out of college and they work in a restaurant.
Yep.
And
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Pay your
no,
dues, baby. Pay your dues.
yeah, you got to. And of course, this was back a few years ago. Let me say I was in school in the late 70s. So what was popular then? Disco. So
Hmm.
I was at a restaurant hanging out with my buds, and they all knew I was at the clubs all the time.
Hmm.
And one of my pals said, "You know what? I was looking in the newspaper today, and the Arthur Murray Ballroom Dance Studio is starting a training class. They're looking for instructors. I think you would be a great dance instructor." And I'm like, "Who's Arthur Murray? And what is ballroom
I've heard of
dance?"
that company too. I remember actually
Now,
reaching out to them.
Arthur Murray's is the largest and oldest ballroom dance franchise in the world.
Yep.
And back, of course, back then also. So I made an appointment for an interview, went out to the club that night and told one of my buddies,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is what I'm going to do." And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I know the manager of that studio. He's at the club here tonight. Do you want me to introduce you?"
Uh,
So you know how the universe just flows, right?
yes. Yeah.
Well, as one, that was almost 44 years ago.
Hmm.
So my background then was developing an understanding of the movement of two people together, the relationship of movement together,
Hmm.
what each person brings to that partnership. I competed professionally through the 80s and to the 90s. I owned ballroom dance, national level ballroom dance competition. Done a
Hmm.
lot of training, a lot of coaching. I work with single people and mostly couples. So
Hmm.
very dive deep into that sensitivity, that emotional intelligence
Right.
of listening to yourself and then listening to another person,
Yeah.
conscious movement within self and with others.
Yes.
And so I saw that that movement was able to really transform people. The unspoken movement could really transform the relationship between people.
Hmm.
In the communication, there would be problems, but then as the movement started to develop with each other, the synergy was much, much more apparent and
Hmm.
felt better between each person. So I saw that idea of breaking down barriers was going to be would be really really great in the corporate world. Of course, I had a number of corporate friends who encouraged me
Hmm.
to do this,
Hmm.
and so I've taken the elements of movement,
Right.
not dance per se, not dance. I'm not teaching people how to do the cha cha
Right.
or
Right.
how to make a waltz, but I am getting people in with natural innate uh,
Right.
what do I want to call it? The innateness. I mean, we're all born moving with the desire to connect, with the
Right.
need to connect. So
Right.
companies have kind of really pulled away from that connecting aspect, that
They
physical
have.
connection aspect. But people want to move. They feel better when they move. I mean, the endorphins of moving, the feel good chemicals, I move by myself, I feel good. I move with another person and together I feel even better.
Yeah.
And the connect, so that's all very innate. Now there's a lot of science behind that besides the chemicals that come flowing out of our body.
Hmm.
But one of the very simple sciences is that when we connect together, and I work all about a very, very guided workshop. And I teach people how there is mindful connection. When we connect together, the skin on skin connection, that information transfers to us faster than the brain can process.
Hmm.
So we understand that. That's why the science of handshakes,
Hmm.
people feel who you are through a handshake.
Do a
They
handshake.
feel what kind of touch it is.
Yes.
Ooh, was that? And that's where the companies are really,
Yes.
that's where they get like, okay, we can't figure out if that touch was intentional or if it was sexual or if it was like friendly. So no touch, no
Exactly.
touch
Exactly. They just cut it off
at
without,
all. It's
without
all or
ever.
nothing, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Without ever actually developing and figuring out how they can use it to, make their businesses a little more efficient and make their businesses run a whole lot more, just run in a cohesive way, as opposed to, figuring out, okay, what's the right way to touch? They say, oh, no touching at all. And they cut the possibility off.
Right, exactly. And so the work that I do and with that and in respect to the corporations and any
Exactly.
businesses is that this is a consensual workshop.
Yes.
It is guided completely. It
Yes.
is everybody has a little waiver, they want to sign, of course, but
Mhm.
just in case they get hurt. But here it is. I'm not I'm not just letting people go out and just go over into the corner and figure it out. I am completely it's hands-on if I need to be,
Mhm.
very, very respectful.
Yes.
And hey, touching the hands,
Hmm.
touching shoulders, touching elbows, maybe back to back. I mean, it's here. We talk about rubbing elbows. Hey, let's get out there and rub elbows. Well, what does that
Right.
mean? It means go out and meet people, get into this social.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, it's
it's interesting because you beat me to it. That was going to literally be my next question is the resistance that you may feel whenever you're approaching and you mentioned having corporate friends, but the resistance that you may feel whenever you're approaching a business owner and say, hey, I have this workshop that involves dance. Do you guys want to work with me? I'm sure that has been something in which you've had to overcome. And as you're talking, I was thinking
still
about,
overcoming it.
yeah, it's still
Still
overcoming
overcoming
it. It's not
it.
something that's going to end.
And
But
it
I was going to say, about 2 years ago now, 3 years ago now, we had a Dr. Sobers on the show. and she actually does a TED talk called Dancing with Leadership. And she
Yeah.
has her friend out there. They're doing I think it's the bachata, and they're showing each other and how they're working through. And this is like in a TEDx form. This is like in a TED Talk form where you're starting to see that chemistry is translating over to the business world. And when it comes to the results, so the people that do work with you, the people that have gotten the workshops, can you walk us through a little bit about the results and the things that they're getting out of the workshop, and how they're feeling during, and how they're sort of transitioning from this group of corporate employees that are just there for a check, to where you can feel like, when I've done certain workshops, you can feel the energy in the room getting better. They're high-fiving, they're laughing with each other. It's an
Yeah.
awesome sight to see. So walk us through a couple of those.
Okay, exactly. And I'm going to preface this by saying that the whole connection of that group of people is
Hmm.
about social relationship physiology. It's just social. It's a social connection, and we all want it. We all live it. We all crave it because it makes us belong, helps us feel like we're in a tribe,
Yes.
etc. You know, so um, I mean, I could go in a number of different ways with walking you
Mhm.
through. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give you an idea of um, of like I was working with the International Coaching Federation for one of their retreats, and I had a group of 15 people.
Mhm.
Half of them were from around the world, and most of them had never met each other personally. They'd met either on
Yeah, this
Zoom.
was like
And so
a
it was like,
virtual
yeah, it was like so it was like a 4 day workshop, and I was the first event of the workshop. I gave them a 3 hour getting to know you, icebreaker, connectivity type of workshop,
thing.
kind of tailored to them because I knew what they were all about, and that's what I do work with. I mean, I really work with what does the company want from me.
Hmm.
Um, so uh, on numbers of the connection exercises, there is that conscious linking of the body, and I link here so we don't make attachments. We're not grabbing hold. Well, people are going to be very hand centric.
Yeah.
People are going to be, they're going to come from outside, and they're not going to come from their bodies. So many times.
Mhm.
So if I got this balance exercise, I say I've got 4 people, and I have them linked together, and we're creating this balance exercise with each other. Now, if again, it's consensual. If someone doesn't want to do this,
Yeah.
they can sit out, but they are then told that they have to be an active observer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have a couple active observers out there, and I've got this 4 groups, and this is just hypothetical, 4 people in this group.
Hmm.
Well, say 3 of these guys are kind of connecting, okay, and someone's grabbing really hard here, and they're grabbing on both sides, and they're pulling, and they're trying really hard. They're
Hmm.
trying to do it. They're trying to hold the group up. They're trying to do it perfectly. They're trying to do something,
Right.
something in their mind, and the rest of the group feels that. They all feel it. They all feel it. So they're like, what's going on? The
Hmm.
people outside can see it. They can see it because we can recognize the most minute changes in people's physiology. Minute. And I come up, I say, listen, can I help you here? Let me help you out. I'll have them relax, breathe. Here, come down into your body, come down into your hips. Let's relax a little bit. They relax, they let go. The entire group suddenly just feels
Hmm.
they feel the entire synergy
Right.
of that connectivity, the
Exactly.
synergy, and that they're all part of it. They're all
Mhm.
part of it. Receiving, giving, giving, receiving,
Right.
opening up and taking care of themselves and taking care of the group. The
Right.
people watching outside are like, wow, that's a
The air
wow,
was
you can see that. That just wow, they all you could see the change immediately. So
Mhm.
these are not things that I'm teaching people.
Yeah.
These people, I'm guiding them towards it. I'm guiding them towards what they already know.
Hmm.
They already know. They don't understand it. They know it.
Yes.
They know what it feels good.
Mhm.
So the workshop is completely experiential. That's where all of the value is. I do work with takeaway exercises in like posture and some
Mhm.
breathing and grounding, because that's bringing people to themselves, into themselves, so they can best express that out. Uh,
Now,
I
the thing is,
I do love when I get to
but,
work with groups longer. I haven't had a chance to do like a 6 month or a 12-month program yet, but
but
I have those in the hopper.
yeah, well, that's
Does that
actually
answer your
again
question?
another thing that I was going to ask you is when that's done, it's a lot. So when I've experienced and when I've done workshops and I've taught my curriculum to a group of business owners or a school or whatever it is, eventually we get to a point where they start aligning what they've learned with their actual numbers and their actual reports and their actual specific
Right.
job duties. So when you are able to get that trust or have them sort of open up, like you mentioned, and they're breathing, they're trusting each other. Is there a point in your workshop? Do you just kind of let this happen organically where they start saying, man, I can make that sell out. Maybe I'll put you in charge of this thing. And, they're thinking more clearly. Can you walk us through a little bit now without giving up too much weight? Again, you guys got to go get the workshop yourself, but just talk to us a little bit about how you make it sort of practical and relatable to their specific business.
Um, a lot of that would be just in the debriefing, just in like
Yeah,
talking
that's
to
it.
people
Yeah. Yeah.
after the exercise,
Hmm.
and it's basically the question is like, this is great. So how do you relate this to yourself, or how do you relate this to your work?
Hmm.
That's their job to figure out. It's not
Yes.
mine.
Yes.
But just for example, that last exercise that I was talking about,
Mhm.
that person that I was giving, like person A, who was like trying to do it all by
Yeah.
themselves. They have the biggest aha. Oh, I was just trying to do it all too fast. I was trying to do it all too fast without regard to
Hmm.
anybody else.
Hmm.
You see, so it's that's not wrong. It's just that we've got to like adjust the cadence of it.
Yes.
So that's part of it.
Mhm.
Um, there because these are such soft skills, it is a challenge for me, and this is part of my business development is to gather the return on investment here, and just start to get some studies like that. That is definitely where I'm at. But I do know, and I'm going to pick on this ICF again. The When I got that gig for that retreat, I had an advocate that was great. She was one of the executive directors, and she
Mhm.
talked to the president of that group, and he was a fairly conservative guy, and he goes, "Well, I don't know about this," and she said, "No, you have to." So he
Yeah.
did. He did. At the end of the workshop, he walks up to me and goes, "Scott, you know, I wasn't really sure about this, but this was really, really good. If you ever need a referral, go
Yeah.
ahead, and I will definitely give you a referral." I said, "Hey, how about a testimonial?" Okay, the next week, he sent me the best testimonial I have ever gotten. He said, when, you know, and he said, "I was not really sure about this at
Mhm.
first, but after that workshop, the the energy of that group of 15 people was so palpable." He said the 3 days after that, he said, was the best ever. He said,
Mhm.
we were so on it. And it just got all this great kickstart by putting us all together and getting us on the same page and moving us together. The meetings after that were just so productive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yes.
That's
I
great.
mean,
Now, of course, it's not bottom line numbers. I
yeah.
would love to be able to, I'd
No,
love
no,
to be
you,
able to
you said the right thing. That debriefing, when you are so into your job and you're so into your work and it's become so monotonous and you're only thinking about work and you're only thinking about your profits and you're only thinking about, how you just make it through the day, that debrief phase gets lost. It gets lost in that transition. It gets lost in
right.
the element. So whatever it is, especially when it comes to what you're doing, when you can find that debrief phase where you're like, look, what the hell are we actually doing here? What are we actually doing in our company? What are we, how are we actually growing? And understand that every worker is a human being. We're not machines. We're not people that are just gonna, we are human beings and we need to get out. We need to, have conversation with other folks and just figure out what exactly we're doing. That element to it is so damn important. We could probably go for another hour just on that concept alone.
Yeah, and again, this workshop has so many layers
Mhm.
of value. I mean, in terms of like conflict resolution or
Yeah,
people
it's a big one, huge one right there.
each other and things like that. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, my work is not my life. I mean, and no, my people at work are not my friends. My friends are outside of work. Whatever. They try to keep a real disconnect between. Well,
Hmm.
here's a cool thing. And it's a hypothetical. If I've got John and I've got Bill, and John looks at Bill across the cubicles. They're executives. They know they've got to interact with each other.
Hmm.
But John looks at Bill and he says, Bill is just kind of weird. He kind of keeps to himself. He doesn't look me in the eyes.
Hmm.
And he's kind of weird. But we've been together for 3 years, and I see him across the cubicles. Well, now we do this workshop.
Hmm.
Now, guess what? Because the workshops, I keep them small. There's no more than 20 people,
Hmm.
no more, because I mean I can't do more than that, and
Right.
and have it be effective.
Effective, right.
So John and Bill end up being paired numbers of times, and
Yep.
they have to connect with each other. They have to do these trust exercises. They have to do some challenges with it. They have to be vulnerable in these vulnerability exercises where one person is letting four people basically help balance them and help support them in
Yeah.
their breathing.
Yeah.
And Bill goes, wait, John, he started cracking jokes, and he
Yeah.
became he was really different.
Yeah.
I liked him
And it
more
happens
because he
organically.
started to show himself.
Yeah.
Everybody started to relax and started to crack jokes and smile and
Yeah.
laugh. And he said, he's really actually pretty cool. And then they go back to the office and they start to have lunch together. It's
Exactly.
so it again, they don't have to become best buds ever, but they talk to each other and they look at each other's eyes when they're talking.
Exactly.
It's just very natural.
It
It's
is.
it's what happens with anybody in
Mm-hmm.
this social relationship physiology, and I'm just working at um, nurturing that,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing that in mostly executive teams. I like leadership teams. They're the ones that are in it to win it. They're the ones that want this because it all trickles down from them. You
Right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
these are the people that are going to make more concerted efforts to shift their own to shift their own minds to expand their own leadership.
Right.
That's what I really work with.
Yes. Now, well, you already kind of sort of mentioned this a little bit, but can you just tell people too a little bit about how they can get in touch? Well, first of all, before they can get in touch with you, what do you see as the future? How do you see this thing playing out in terms of like your 10, maybe 10, 15-year vision for, moving edge workshops?
I see myself. You mean my what I see the workshop be?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
what it becomes like.
um,
Well, would it? I don't know if it'd be necessary to get your own dance studio, but just kind of, what's next and how what people can expect coming down the pipeline.
um, well, that's a really interesting question. What I am where I'm growing right now is just to position myself out
Hmm.
into the small business world, the startup business, because they're newer companies and they're looking for a
We're in
niche for.
the we you are in the right area for that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. And I see not only what's really odd though is you speak about that. We're prophets in our own backyard. And people look over us. They don't see us.
Exactly,
They
it
have to go
happens. It
out
happens.
there. It's out
And
there.
then they start to realize, yes, it
They start to
definitely
realize
happens
they've
like that,
got a wolf
right?
right here in their backyard. I see myself doing more traveling. I've done some traveling, but I do like to travel, and I see
Hmm.
myself um, affecting greater change with more people with this simplistic, real simplistic, as I say,
Hmm.
natural, innate um, abilities in us. In the ballroom world, it was all very focused on one or two people and small groups of people.
Hmm.
But with this, I look to become the go-to person
Yes,
in culture in nurturing culture through natural relationship, social relationship physiology, through through every again. The idea is I'm not teaching you anything. I'm
it's
not.
already in there.
I'm helping you plug into yourself,
Plug into what's
and
already in
that's I see that getting stronger, and I believe that the business world,
there.
uh, it again because they are such a large entity, they take much longer much longer to change, but they're slowly coming around,
Hmm.
and I'm hope to be one of those agents of change for
Yes, and
that.
when you get it, once you get established, once you like that flywheel, once you get that flywheel turning, that's really the hardest part is just getting into your niche and figuring out who specifically is the prospect and who specifically are the business owners that you want to serve. So, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to hear more?
Well, you can always go to my website, www.movingedgeworkshop. There it is across the top, Moving Edge
Yeah,
Workshop.
there you go, baby.
There we go. And you can the my email,
Mhm.
movingedgeworkshop@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me, all of that. I mean, you want me to give a phone number? I can give a phone number.
It's up to you. We'll include everything in the show notes, so you
Oh,
guys
you
don't
do
have
that?
to, yeah,
Great.
yeah, we want you guys don't have to stop and write it down or anything like that. All of this will be included in the show notes. We are living in 2000. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be 2025. So you can get in touch with whoever it is you are trying to get in touch with these days. So the final thing I do, Scott, to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. Pretend you are back to being that kid that went to the club and you went to your friend, you heard of Arthur Murray dance school and you met the guy. Pretend that version of you has come into the Zoom room. Give him some words of encouragement and we will officially close.
Oh, wow. Wow, a number of things. Well, it would have to do with trust in myself,
Mhm.
just trust in myself.
Right.
Um, most and not that I uh, that I am bigger than anything that I do. I mean, I'm bigger than the ballroom dance world. I'm bigger than the moving edge workshop. I am, Scott, and I'm worthy just because I'm Scott. And
That's it, man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And if it's your first time tuning in, the reason I close out every show with that question is because I'm talking directly to you. If you yourself are going through whatever the situation is and you're having a rough time, we're here again, like I said at the beginning, to indirectly help you. And like you just said, just trust in yourself and believe you're enough because I guarantee you, you are.
Absolutely.
All right. So all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.
Yes.